Welcome to the Choose on Purpose podcast, where leaders live with intention. I'm your host, Becky Ploutz, and I want to start by saying that connection isn't a bonus. Yeah, connection is a strategy for growth in my world. And today's episode and our conversation about connection is really about strengthening and exploring how we are seen, heard, and supported. And that's with our relationship with ourselves, with others, and with the connection to our dreams that we are actively building. And through honest conversation today, shared reflection, and our lived experiences, we're really unpacking some vulnerability. We're asking for help and cultivating relationships that hold steady in our purpose. So if you're listening to this and you've been craving deeper connection, clear self-trust, or more supported growth, this episode invites you to choose connection with purpose. So welcome to the podcast. And today we have 5 voices that you'll be hearing on this episode in our strategy hour. So our focus is on connection, as I said. So connection with yourself, other people, your dreams. And we're going to walk through the acronym of CONNECT today. And so really what I'm going to do is kind of round robin these conversations with the ladies in the room and see how it goes, because we're using the acronym of CONNECT. So I'll start by just asking everyone to introduce themselves so we can hear everyone's voice in case they're listening versus watching us. And then we'll dive into the acronym. So I'll start at the top of my screen. Miss Leah Allen, you want to give an introduction of who you are before we dive in?
Sure, I'm Leah Allen, and I am I like to call myself a relationship marketing strategist. And so what that means is I teach people how to connect deeply and how to build relationships for their businesses.
Perfect. Thank you, Leah. Kelly Fox, you're next on my screen. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
Sure.
I'm Kelly Fox. Sure. I am a virtual assistant and also a Fear Mastery rock star. Excuse me. So I help you with the back end of you can stand out and shine, as well as support you with moving past any fears that have you stuck or procrastinating, living the dream you want, or having the business you want.
Woo woo. Thank you, Kelly. And Carrie, you're next on my screen. Would love to hear from you. Hi.
Hi, my name is Carrie Spromberg. I am a trauma-informed yoga instructor. I teach yoga classes, and I have over 1,000 hours in teaching now, so that really dates me. But
I love
anyway,
it.
yeah, so I specialize in somatic movement. That's really what a trauma-informed yoga instructor does. I concentrate on breath work, mudras, somatic movement, and getting into the body, feeling the body up.
Beautiful. Thank you, Carrie. Nancy Kelso, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I am Nancy Kelso. I get to ignite confidence and courage in business professionals who want to run sustainable and successful practices and companies. I am the founder of the Real Framework, which stands for Reflect, Engage, Align, and Lead. And I'm your real expert here to have this great conversation on connection today.
Awesome. Okay, and I'm Becky Ploutz, and I keep saying I need to work on introducing myself when I'm with these ladies because it's like, oh, and then I'm just here to coordinate some conversation. But so my background is photography, but I am everything about empowering women to be seen, heard, and celebrated by turning your purpose into confident action. So through connection, creativity, and intentional growth, this podcast is one of those avenues that we dive in and do that with on purpose. So let's dive in to the conversation around connect. So if you're taking notes, which anyone in the room, of course, find a page that you can take some notes on. And our acronym of connect is starting with C, connect in with self, right? And this is all about obviously grounding in our self-awareness and really reconnecting to our own voice more than or before we reach out to the world. Okay. So connection, I always say connection begins with you. And this is something that I've known for myself was really important to relearn or relearn, however you want to look at that. And knowing that the relationship with ourselves, that needs to come before we're looking at our outside connections and the people externally than ourselves. So that's really what we're talking about, checking in with ourselves, building that self-awareness and reconnecting. So a question and a prompt that I want to bring to the table. And actually, I would love to ask Carrie maybe to start us off, just because I know your background and what you shared a little bit. This might be kind of fun for you to share where you're currently feeling disconnected from yourself, if anything's coming up to share. And I can just tie in the second question. So maybe you want to meld them together too. That's like, what does being seen by yourself, right? Being seen by yourself, what does that look like right now in this season?
Okay, so the question is, where am I currently feeling disconnected from myself?
Yep.
And then where am I disconnected from myself right now? I'll answer that first.
Yep.
And I think we can all relate to this, we have schedules that you pop from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And it is trying or a challenge sometimes to take a beat, right? To take a breath, to connect. So I think that right now is a challenge on carving out time to connect back in with myself based on scheduling demands at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I heard a couple ladies coming from another meeting, jumping right into this one, and clearing the slate to get prepared for this one. So I know that we on the call can relate to that as well. Our calendars and our schedules and how we move about, like making sure that we are taking that breath and taking that. I like that you say taking the beat, because I've been looking at rhythms in life a lot more, and how much more fun that is to think about the rhythm of life and how it can get offbeat and that we want to take a beat.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. So the second part of that was what does being like for yourself? What does being seen look like for you right now, for you to see yourself?
Oh, okay. So for me to see myself, I typically slow down and listen to my thoughts. So for me to see myself, I listen to my thoughts and then I think, okay, well, how balanced are they based on what's going on in the present moment? And if my thoughts are somewhere in the future, then I'm like, okay, I just really need to slow down and get myself nice and present. Then I feel like if my thoughts are in the past and something that happened, then I'm like, okay, well, now I feel like I'm living in the past a little bit. How do I get myself to come back to being aware in the present? And I do that typically by just kind of feeling, first of all, my thoughts, and then also like, what does my body feel like? So for me, when I feel like I'm not connecting with myself, I feel a little bit exhausted, or I feel tired, or my neck and shoulders gets tight. And then I'm like, okay, I got to check in. I have to balance here. What is it that I need? Mm-hmm. And I'm an introvert, and a lot of people say you're not an introvert because I talk a lot, or I'm social. But in order for me to rebuild my own energy, I really have to be by myself, and that's to me what an introvert means. So when I'm not taking that time, then I realize, okay, time to check in, carve that out, because then I feel like I'm not showing up in my fullest capacity.
Yeah.
If I'm not full myself. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that check-in, right? That's where you get to see what's out of alignment for you. So the third question really that I want to like bring to the table for you is like, and obviously this is for our listeners to be thinking about for yourselves too, right? What have you been maybe ignoring or minimizing or, just rushing past right now in thinking about this connecting with your self idea and grounding in your own self-awareness? Where might you be ignoring or minimizing or hurrying up that you want to take that intentional slow down moment and breathe?
Yeah, I think for me, I think there's a level of saying no to certain things, although there's certain things that I cannot say no to. For me, I have a, 13, 14-year-old, and we're very busy in activities every night, or, and then I have stuff that I'm doing that I have appointments or things I have to show up for. So I think for me, it is a matter of slowing down when I'm going from place to place and really being intentional on my own body and my own breath, going from place to place versus all I have to do. Sometimes my head will be like, okay, I just got to get through this. And then I'm going to go to this. And then I just got to just when this is, you see what I'm saying, right? Like I just have this other
Yeah.
appointment. And then once I get there, then we could go and make dinner. And then when we make dinner, we could go to, dance. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just a matter of, okay, well, listen, none of that's really happening right now in this current moment. I'm making dinner. So let's, look at the water boiling or whatever I'm making, noodles and put them in there. And, yeah. So I think maybe that answers that last question a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
for what I hear is like the intentional breathing and being present and slowing down, even in the car rides or the transition of any kind, just remembering that breath is connection to ourselves. We can bring more awareness in from inside of our body, and it's right there all the time.
Right. Right. And that's really our life because honestly, going to dance, and I realize dance is our life as well, right? We have to get there. But although right now, like
Yeah.
really, we know that this is the only moment guaranteed for us. And then
Yep.
sometimes I feel as if I'm stealing joy or I'm stealing that present moment space thinking of the million other things.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Okay, so the O, we're going to move into our acronym, continue to move on to our O, which is open the door to vulnerability. And I think about vulnerability as honesty, like exploring honest expression. And what shifts when we stop performing and thinking like this is how we need to do something versus, you know, being honest and telling the truth about what's real for us, and to ourselves. So, connection really deepens when we can be honest and when that replaces that performance-based idea around fill in the blank, whatever that might be in your life. So I think the question really is what feels vulnerable to admit in this season of life? And Leah, I want to ask you that question. What feels vulnerable to admit in this season?
That's a that's a deep question. So I just came off a call where we were talking about wealth and that it's not just money, that wealth is in every aspect of our life. And if we separate it, it doesn't work, right? We have to,
Mm,
and she gave examples of, freedom, health, love, relationships. And if we separate wealth out of those places and we're just chasing money. But the other piece that she gave was that this is day 43 of the year. And it
mm,
really struck me because I have all these goals and aspirations and dreams, and I'm already at day 43, and I feel like I lost 2 weeks when I was sick.
mm,
So it's frustrating to me, and I feel sad and a little bit overwhelmed by like losing 2 weeks of momentum. And so for me, my truth is that I feel a lot of pressure on myself to
Mm.
perform and to not miss a beat. Talking about a beat, I feel like because of those 2 weeks, I feel less than, and I have to work through some of those
Mm.
emotions that are coming up because I probably got sick because I was not paying attention and doing too much, and I needed to slow down. So looking at why did I get sick and how did I get so sick? And now I'm paying attention and saying, you know what, when I'm tired, I go take a nap and being
Mm.
really present in my body because if I don't do that, I will get sick again. So, I'm at that point where I need to say, I'm not a bad person because I stopped to take a nap. So that's
Oh
kind of
my
where I'm at
goodness.
right now.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you said that because the awareness that um how powerful it is to connect with if we don't do the things that we know will support us long term, what's going to happen? That's more empowering to me, I'll say. That's more empowering to me to think about than, oh, if I change my routine, then this thing is going to change and that might adjust this too much. And I don't know if I want that. It's more powerful to me to think about what you just said in the way of, if I don't do this, this is the reality that's going to come. And I don't want that.
Mm-mm.
So it's more of an empowering move for me to think of it that way. So thank you for sharing it in that way. That sounds really powerful
Thank you.
to think about. And I'm like, Leah, what if the rest that you took for 2 weeks is gonna, catapult you so much further because now you're coming back stronger and having this awareness now that I know more clearly what I need to do to support myself for the long term. Yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
instantly like, oh, shift that, but we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah.
there on that. Um, so the second part of the opening the door to vulnerability, Leah, would be where have you been holding it together instead of letting yourself be supported in your life?
Well, before I got sick, I was trying to do it all. And forcing myself to stop and take care of myself meant that I needed to be supported by my husband and my son and people around me. And that was hard because I'm not one who's easy to ask for help. And so learning
Mm.
to ask for help is an area that I am working on, that it's okay to ask for help. I can't and shouldn't do it all. And I was also depriving them of the joy of taking care of me. So
Mm.
they really found joy in making soup and doing things so that I could truly rest. So,
Yeah. I love that perspective also, like just the understanding that when we ask someone for support,
mhm.
it gives them an opportunity to feel purposeful and supportive and that can be such a gift when we look at it that way versus how you know we may think that it's a burden
Yeah.
or a hardship. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so then what changed for you the last time that you told the truth out loud, thinking about vulnerability and connection?
Um, well, for me, I've always been a very aware person of what's going on in my life. So when I changed this thought that it's okay to ask for help, and that's really where I've been more vulnerable in lately, is that it gave me that perspective that by asking for help, it's not showing that I'm a weakness or that I
Mm.
have weakness. It's showing that, first of all, I'm strong enough to know that I need help and it's okay to ask for help. But that piece that people want to help and that I am not a burden to them, because that is huge for me. I always felt like I would be a burden. So
Mm.
um, for me, the season of being sick, and when I say sick, I mean I couldn't even get out of off the
Yeah.
couch. I mean, I was using a nebulizer and trying to breathe. It was really bad. And so for me to be that sick was partially scary, but it was also like, what happens if I don't get better or what's going to happen next? And I just allowed myself to feel it all and then just
Mm.
focused on rest and healing and really supporting myself with positive things. So for me, my truth was that it's okay to get to that place because that's where we rebuild from.
Yeah. Yeah. And right, that is a hard place. Like to feel like it was so bad that it's like, how did we get here? And I love the perspective shift of so reverse engineering that. Like, I know this isn't where I want to be in the future. What can I do to start asking for support and being okay with it and seeing that as a benefit for other people also.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Okay, the N for our acronym of Connect is name the support you need. Okay, so this is all about being able to identify what kind of support would truly serve you in whatever season you're in right now. And just realizing how much our unspoken needs can't be met. Recognizing that when we use our voice and we speak life to whatever we want or need in our life, the power that comes with that is that it can be received. It can be heard and received, and then the need can be met. But it can't if we don't ask or verbalize it or express it in some way. So the question that I want to start with for this N, naming the support you need, is what kind of support would actually help you right now in your life? So Kelly, I'll go to you if you want to share. My note taker over there.
I was like, I don't want her to call me on this one. I don't really know what I'm gonna say.
Well, that's all right.
Um, so what I started to write down was, um, I I want Jay to ask me questions.
Mm,
So, like, I'll ask him. Jay is my husband, for those listening.
yeah.
I ask him, how was your day? How's work going? How is school going? Like I ask him questions, but
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't ever think to then reciprocate that with
Mm,
asking me how my day went, or what clients did I work for today, or how do I feel about this or that going on, right? And I I have basically been waiting
mm,
for him to ask me because my excuses are that I don't want to tell him if he doesn't want to know. Mm. If
mm.
he's not interested, I don't want to try to have a conversation where he's really not paying attention or doesn't care about what I'm saying. Mm. And that may or may not be true. Mm. Um, but if I want to be heard, I need to be willing to speak. Mm.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So, the support I want or I need right now is for him to ask me. But I'm starting to um, think about where is my willingness to just talk anyways, instead of being resentful for not being asked.
Yeah, that's good, Kel. Thank you for sharing that. Because, I mean, I know I can relate to that. At one point, I have built some structure in my relationship so that it is a process and a system in my relationship so that there are specific questions that we ask and that it is a back and forth in a very quick summary way. But when it wasn't there, that was exactly how I felt. Like I don't want to just talk to for me to talk. Like I want you to be interested. And yeah, it doesn't always work that way. So I love what you're saying about your willingness to just start talking and, you know, eventually something will get said. And if not, then at least you're getting it out there, and that could be supportive in itself, right? You getting to practice expressing it could be
Yeah.
supportive.
Yeah, I mean, I have other people that I talk about my day with, or I talk about what's going on with my clients, or um, stuff like that. I mean, it's not like I'm not telling anyone. Mhm.
Yeah.
But I want him to want to know. Like
Hmm.
he has this guy that he works, well, one of his coworkers, and he was talking about something that he did that he didn't like, this side job that he does that he didn't want to do anymore, and it kind of sounded like Jay thought it was something that maybe I could take over for him. He's like, yeah, my wife's a
Hmm.
VA. She helps people with their businesses, but he really didn't know. He doesn't know what I do. Mm, so he couldn't
Right.
fully tell this guy what it is I do. He's like,
Yeah.
she builds websites and does stuff like that. And I'm like,
The jack of all trades, Kel.
well, I kind of am, but still,
Oh,
like he
yeah.
couldn't really tell what I do. And I even said to him, like, I'm like, you know why you couldn't tell him what I do? And he was like, why? I was all, because you don't ask.
Mhm.
And then he didn't say anything else. But
He's like, why am I not going to ask anything else?
no, I mean, he
Yeah.
didn't say anything else. Like, I know I don't, or. But so I'm starting to speak up a little, but
Yeah. So you have people that it feels good or safe, familiar, that you can, ask for what you need. This is just the one area of your life you're like, I really want that right now.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see connection in other places because I know
Yeah.
I'm not going to get it from my kids and I'm not going to get it from Jay in the way that I want it. Not to say that I don't get connection from my kids or from Jay, but when it comes to like me and my business or me and my, you know, I don't know, like deep thoughts. They're not the people that are going to, necessarily be there for me for that. Um, especially not the 12 and the 9-year-old, right? My 15-year-old barely talks to me at all. So, um,
So
so I
this
have
is funny, Kel.
found other sources for that type of connection. Mm.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so earlier you said, I was just like jumping in because earlier you said it could be true, or I don't know if it's true, but now like my other question, right, is what stories do you tell yourself about asking for help? And I wanted to be like, is that a story you're telling right now about you can't? I always challenge the word can't in my house, like that you
Yeah,
can't get it from your kids or your husband, or is that the past that you're
I haven't. Mm.
right,
Yeah,
right.
I haven't.
Yeah,
My 21-year-old, sometimes I can have like deeper conversations with her. And we have had some conversations, but I don't want to talk about my relationship with my daughter, right? Like that's not
yeah,
appropriate for me. Like she doesn't need to know the inner workings of her mom and her dad's relationship. So I leave those for other people.
yeah.
But like things that are going on with me in just like self-development or how I feel about myself or like things that are going on now, um, I can talk about some of those things with her. And when she comes in my room and she wants to talk to me, I do take advantage of those moments. Um, but getting all deep, I don't necessarily have that relationship right now with my older children.
Yeah.
They're kind of focused on their own lives and their friends and their boyfriend and, things like that. But I think that they wouldn't be opposed to it in like as they grow. Like I think I could
Hmm.
have that type of relationship with them because I'm always open when they come to me, right?
Hmm.
So they do
Yeah.
come to me and talk to me about stuff like that because I'm mom, right? But
Yeah.
it's
Well,
not,
not everybody
I
has a
don't,
mom that they do that with, so that's a win right there, Kel.
yeah, but I don't do that with them, right? So I have friends. I have a Marco Polo group of friends
Hmm.
where we check in with each other and um you know and I tell them, yeah, I got 2 new clients. I'm super excited. And then they'll come back on and they'll do a video. Kelly, I'm so excited, right? So I have people that are excited about my life.
Yeah.
They just may not live in my house. But yeah,
Right.
I know I make up stories. I mean, that's why my favorite tool is, are you making it up or is it true? I
Hmm.
constantly challenge the stories that I'm making up because I can find myself in victim mode really easy. Um, and so am I really the victim? Mm, Nobody listens, nobody cares, right? Because I can get into that mode very easily as a mom. Mm. And especially because my trigger is visible. So, or invisible. So, so I can definitely get in that mode. So I challenge my stories. Maybe not immediately, but I do challenge my stories. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
That's good.
so that is a practice I have had for 20 some odd years now. They're not going to go away. It's human to make up stories or justify action or inaction, to make our feelings make sense, right? It's a human thing to do. Um,
Yeah.
but we can also practice challenging those stories as well and leaving room for um, something else being true.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's important to identify the kinds of support that we need and to be able to, name it and ask for it. Thanks for sharing, Kel. That's really good. Okay, the second N in connect is to nurture meaningful relationships, right? And this is about strengthening the bonds that really give us energy, that encourage us, that help us align with our growth journeys. And not all connections are equal, is a great example that was just shared, right? Like, not all connections are equal, and that's okay. One person is not meant to be the most powerful connection that you have in your whole life. Our partners, our best friends, like we have different connections for reasons. So the question is like, which relationships energize you and help you grow? Nancy, that is for you, my friend. Which relationships energize and help you grow?
Oh, here I thought
Us.
I was going to know exactly. This group right here. I think that the types of relationships are the ones where you can be open and vulnerable. So, I tend to find spaces where I feel like I belong. That's where I'm going to get the support. Now, that being said, I don't want to be coddled in those relationships. I'm looking for the challenge or the um, collaboration. I'm looking for the perspectives. And so I think, and it's different depending on what my need is in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as I'm thinking of all the questions that you've asked so far today and just going through um, the, the con, the CONN, there's so much overlap for me in each of my answers because my first answer with checking in with myself was, well, the best way I do that is to be vulnerable and collaborate with somebody. Like when I come to a group, the way I check in with myself is by saying something out loud and saying, is that like, is that true? Like, I that's how I process.
Mm.
So verbally saying it out loud. To open the door
Mhm.
to vulnerability is, yeah, honest expression of what's real, and to let go of the rigidity of what I think I should, the steps I should think I should be taking, and to be open to what I hear from that conversation, knowing that I still get to choose for me.
Yeah.
And then, the whole idea of naming the support you need, what really showed up for me when Kelly was talking was sometimes the only support we're going to be able to get is the support we can give to ourselves. So we have to also be willing to ask ourselves for the support we need,
Mm-hmm.
which goes back to the first check in with self, right? But all of these, like, just there's so much interplay between them. And then when I think of these meaningful relationships, for me, it's about having the conversation with a person that is going to be open to talking about that particular either need that I have or place that I'm in the moment. Maybe it's a place of celebration. Um, and this is very related to my in your corner exercise and get real, right? Who's in your
Yeah.
corner? Who do you go to when you're looking for support or ideas? Who do you go to when you're ready to celebrate? Who do you go to when you want to brainstorm or who do you go to when you just need to vent? Right. And those are all different people. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you'll see the same group, the same people in a couple of places. But, I have my core group in the On Purpose with Purpose community, of course, but I've got my hiker biker chicks group, and I've got my neighborhood group, and I've got my Bible study group, and then I've got my one-on-one friends, my best friend since we were 4 years old. I mean, she'll call me out on stuff, you know, and she'll, say, well, what are you going to do about it when I complain? She doesn't just let me get away with it. So I think it's nurturing all of those. So when you know
Yeah.
what you need support in or what you need for your personality, then you can discover how you want to nurture relationships for that opportunity, for those types of opportunities.
Mm.
Like I think of like healthy eating. It's hard. Like I just want to put in, and when I'm hungry, I like just give me some food, and I try to be conscious of it. But then if I really want to go and say, okay, I'm going to change something here, I want I want a relationship. I want relationships who are going to say, hey, remember what you committed to? And, how's it going? And, when was the last time you gave yourself a treat if you're being too rigid? Or when do how are you getting enough vegetables? Whatever it is, right? So that's a different group of people, possibly, than the person who's going to help me grow my business or, um, you know, those types of things. So that's what's showing up for me. Thank you.
Yeah. I love this because what you're saying is, you find those places that you can feel, you know, that you can be heard. You can share those goals, those intentions, those aspirations, whatever it is in your life and business, and the differences in how you show up in there may be consistent, but the people, the connections, they're kind of coming from different areas, and it's not one place. It's a variety of places. And
Mhm.
and there's and like the other part of that is like what boundaries, right? What boundaries strengthen your capacity to have those connections, to stay connected with someone that you knew when you were four. And you know, I love that you say calling out because I love the love punches, like letting people know, like, oh, I heard you say the thing and not sure if that's what you meant or if that's what you really want. but like there's boundaries that also strengthen those relationships and those connections to keep going, and be nurtured in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And in finding the places you want to get that nurturing, or that you want to nurture more of, in the beginning, you might not be as vulnerable or open or share as much with somebody because you're developing that relationship. So that's a place where boundaries really come in, is like, because I can overshare, and I'll sometimes do that when I'm presenting. I'm like, oh boy, Nancy, like you didn't need to tell them that, right? Because I'm just so in my flow of being open and vulnerable, because I have a lot of groups where I can be that open and vulnerable.
True. Yeah.
So it's about, it does take some development of trust over time, along with, being just the openness, the willingness to hear something you maybe don't want to hear too.
Yeah, I love this. So this flows into the E, which is engage. Engage with your dreams in community. So, right, like we're talking about the places and the communities and the people that we are being, all of those things, right? Vulnerable and open. And this is where our dreams grow faster, when they're witnessed and held by people that can, also receive and or just hold it. They don't have to receive it, but they can hold it and allow others to witness and hopefully believe in what you're building too. That belief, that learning opportunity together, like that's how we grow stronger together, as we like to say in here. And that's because you're sharing your vision out loud. You're engaging in community with that passion, with that energy, and it's being witnessed instead of, quietly holding all of the things that we might want to change or that we want to strengthen in our life. And I mean, what happens when others believe in your dream with you? I mean, it gets stronger. Your belief rises. Your knowing that it's possible increases. So that connection just gets stronger and stronger and more powerful. So that's the E, right? Nancy, did you have something that you wanted to share on that?
Well, yeah, this is okay. Here we go, right? And being vulnerable, connecting, checking in with yourself, right? I'm looking at my vision boards in front of me, and I have 20, 24, 25, and 26 is, kind of a combination of some of the things that I pulled together from those plus more. But the bottom line is it was in 2024 that I first said this, I want to be the real expert out loud. And I'd been using the real framework probably for 5 years already, longer than that on my own, but 5 years with clients. I just, it was still coming together. But then when I said I'm going to be the real expert, right? That's like, well, what does that mean? How do I do that?
Yeah.
And getting the belief from other people that, that is very possible. And then seeing it extend into the change I made from just saying it to starting to live it. And then now, really being it. Like that is the core of my business. Everything revolves around the real framework. And so the relationships have helped me do that. Like I've had, beta readers, people helping, they've done the Unleash program where I use the real framework. I'm speaking about real framework. All of that I'm getting, these are different groups of people, connections I'm asking for the support, and they're giving me feedback, and they're telling me what works. They're telling me what they like and don't like. And I'm building relationships with all those people through that process. And then I can do the same thing for them. So it's just, like when you claim it out loud, then that's, one of the books in the Real Framework and in my Get Real book is exclaim enthusiastically. Be a little scared to put it out there. Be vulnerable. Say what you want. It might end up totally different than how you envision it when you say it, but it's what helps you take the next step to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this flows perfectly into the C, which is choose courageous communication. And it is courageous to like make a bold step or take the risks. And, really what this is about is doing the practicing having those conversations, practice deepening that self-trust and the trust with others as you're choosing to connect, right? Rather than avoiding the discomfort of it's going to be awkward for a minute or I don't know if this is a good time. Well, we don't know unless we jump in half the time, right? Like I was just going in order and calling on people to talk. And I heard Nancy like crack in her voice. I was like, oh, did you want to speak? Like just jumping in, like being willing to have an opportunity come and choose to take it, have the communication so that, say the thing that builds trust for yourself, that can build connection with someone else. Because if we're not, then, we could be getting on an avoidance reel and like on a loop, so to say, right? And the clear communication can't get stronger when it's hidden. So choosing courageous conversations and practicing that little by little, knowing how we can be more honest and still protect our hearts, our passions, our dreams, because there is definitely a time and a place that it needs protection. But that goes back to what we've been talking about, like having nurturing relationships. These words aren't just words. It's important to know that how they feel within us and what we're doing as we're connecting, that's the most important part. It's not just because I knew this person since I was 4. It's that there's trust built, there's nurturing in this connection that's been there, all of those points. So yeah, that's really good. Okay, and then I'm going to say the T, which is trust the bonds. Trust the bonds that hold you. Okay, and like leaning into the support systems that you have or that you're building that really anchor you in your purpose and that help you grow with that steadiness, that groundedness. And this is where connection really becomes an anchor or rooted and grounded. Rooted's my word, so I always want to like throw that in there. My word for the year. But really it's, thinking about where do you feel supported even when things feel uncertain in your life, right? Consider that. That's where you have a trust that's really been built strong. Or how does trust change how you show up for yourself? Little by little, the strengthening that comes along with that. So, thinking about this acronym of connect, which is connect in with yourself, open the door to vulnerability, name the support you need, nurture meaningful relationships, engage with your dreams in community, choose courageous conversation, and trust the bonds that hold you. So I want to go round robin and just kind of check in and ask how your, like, not how your time was, but specifically, I want to ask each of the ladies in here to share one insight or action that you're going to choose this month as we're focused on connection that you want to strengthen. So Leah, I'll start with you. What's one insight or action that you're feeling called to choose moving forward for this month to try on?
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm not sure I'm answering the question right, but what came to me is that you started with checking in with yourself and you ended with trust. And I feel like the two are together. It's you're trusting yourself and then you're trusting that you're creating the community that is good for you. And so that's it. When you do that, it's easy to be courageous because you've created a safe space. And so for me, that's what I feel like I have done is I've spent a lot of time, if you will, curating community so that it is a safe place for me to be able. And I agree with what Kelly was saying is one thing that's important in seasons in our life is that our husbands can't be everything to us. And that's the biggest
Right.
thing that we need to understand. So having girlfriends and having community outside of that is important so that we don't have to rely so heavily on our husbands and we can just enjoy our husbands for what they can give us and then find the rest elsewhere. And it doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that that's not the role that they need to play. And so for me, I'm going to learn to trust myself more and then trust the community that I'm building so I can be courageous.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Leah. I love that. Carrie, how about you? What's your takeaway or insights or um, idea that you're taking away from today's conversation?
Sure. Well, right now I was thinking about what Leah and Kelly said, and really that's for any relationship. But I mean, we set the bar really high if we go to somebody for everything or expect them to fill all of our needs and our
Mm.
emotional wants. Um, I think I'm taking away a lesson of leaning into being more vulnerable. And I've been practicing this a lot lately myself, being more vulnerable and asking the question and being direct with my question. So whether it be for help or whether it be to understand something a little bit further, but just taking that moment to understand more fully
I
and
love it.
asking questions. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Carrie. Nancy, you're next on my screen. What's your takeaway from today's conversation or your commitment?
My commitment is to continue on this path of my word of the year, which is trust. And
Woo-hoo.
I have this little note because a lot of times, um, this goes back to another discussion we had, but um, that there's a difference between understanding each other and agreeing with one another.
Hmm.
And a lot of times, I want my husband to agree with me. And so, this whole idea of trusting, I wrote down trust the bonds where I feel supported, even when things are uncertain. And that especially happens the most with my husband because I know he's always got my back. I know he supports my business and he's never let me down in any part of my life. But when we disagree, I immediately go to lack of trust, even though I know I can trust him, right? So that's really showing up for me. And I have this little, my note on my computer says, trust myself, trust my process, trust my higher power, trust my timing, trust my abilities, trust my passion. And I'm going to add trust my connections. So
Mm. I
thank
love
you.
that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Love it. Kelly Fox, would love to hear what your takeaway or commitment or choices moving from this conversation today.
Uh, well, I wrote down quite a few things. Some things that I've already said before to myself or even here or in some environment. Um, so just reiterating that I know more about where I am than I don't, or that I say I do.
Mm.
Um, and allowing myself to trust that. Um,
Can you say it one more
and
time? You know what?
yeah, I don't remember what I said.
You said you know
Trust.
more than.
Oh, I know more than I think I do, or I um say I do. Mhm.
Okay. Make sure I understood you right.
Yeah. Um, and trust that I do know that. A lot of it came to um in check in with self, a lot of it came to permission.
Mm,
Um, so, and I know that that's a big thing for me. Permission is a big word for me. Because I feel like I need permission for like everything. Um, and so realizing that the permission comes from me, not someone else. Um, and so yeah, so just um I guess yeah. So around like Leah said, the first C and the last T, they're playing together a lot. Or I guess the only T. But giving myself permission, defining who I am, connecting with myself and trusting that. And trusting that regardless of what my final decisions are or what my current development is, that those connections are still going to be there.
right on. I love that. I love hearing that the connection between the top and the end of it, how it loops together, and it is kind of like a cycle and a cyclical. Like it just wraps all around. Big hug, start and end.
It all
Yeah, thank
connects.
you. Thank you so much for the conversation, ladies. And for our listeners, if you're craving deeper connection or more intentional support, a space where you don't have to carry everything alone. I'd love to personally connect with you and invite you to come and check out the On Purpose community. You can schedule a one-on-one call with me to connect and explore more about what the community holds for you, how women support very intentionally with living and aligning our growth and choosing on purpose in every season of life. So you don't have to do it alone, and you can, you know, find community. I would love to connect with you. Empower your journey and choose on purpose. Until next week, have a great day.